Okay, my friends, this is quite serious. This is about the cells and the different chemicals that are secreted. Now, where are they secreted from? They think the organs make these chemicals and secrete them out, which are these enzymes. Well, they do not. The organs do not make the chemicals. They are secreted from the organs, yes. What makes the chemicals is the enzymes that live within that organ. Well, actually, not enzymes. Enzymes are not alive. You have bacteria that lives in that organ. And bacteria reproduce, they'll stay there for your whole life. If you keep them healthy, they'll just keep reproducing. They make the enzymes. The enzymes are the things that get secreted. So the bacteria is the key to everything in your whole life. Because the only thing that ever happens in you, and I'm serious, 100% of all the chemical reactions that happen within you require enzymes. Enzymes work literally up to millions of times faster than they would if it wasn't for the enzyme. I'll show you some of the statistics on it. It's just mind-blowing. And the number of ribosomes, which are the enzymes, in every cell is just staggering. When I show you this, it'll just blow your mind. It did me. I knew all of these things were going on, but I didn't have the numbers. Now I have, everything just fell into place. It's absolutely stunning. And we're going to be going over prokaryotes versus eukaryotes. This is bacteria and archaea. It's a very simple single cell. And these are advanced little, these are like the cells that are in us. But every cell has a membrane and has all these things in it. And the bacteria are single cell. All their job is to create the ribosomes. All right? Now, some bacteria, yes, they are designed to go out and consume waste. The ones we're going to be discussing today are the ones that create ribosomes. And ribosomes are chemistry sets. That's all it is, a chemistry set. And that chemistry set just floats around through your body. They're free floating. And they appear to collect in the cytoplasm, which is all the gooey stuff that's in here. I'll show you all this in detail in a minute. And there's just a bazillion of them in every cell. And they're just waiting to be tripped off to react with something coming to try to hurt it, appears. I was always wondering how there could be so many bacteria creating so many different ribosomes. How could they sort them all out and send them to the right place at the right time? It appears they just all float around until they just settle in the cells, and then they just sit there and wait. They're not alive. They don't eat anything. They don't poop. They stay there all day, forever, until something tickles the chemistry on the outside of their package, because they're in a ball. I'm going to show you this in great detail. And when it tickles outside of that package, it pops open and kills it. It's like a mouse trap. All right, this is basically a chemistry biology lesson, and it's very simple. Glands. You have glands throughout your body. You always hear about your glands secreting something. Well, what does that mean? A gland in the human body, special tissues, special type of little organ tissues. And they say they create them. No, they do not create them. They create and release substances that perform specific jobs. They do release them, and they are the factories that these bacteria move into these factory spaces, which are called organs. The bacteria create the product. It's released and distributed by the gland. Yes, the gland has a genetic code in there that says when you see so much of this material and so much of this chemical, send out so much of this, and there is a program within the organs, yes. That's the program code, which is in your DNA. It controls that organ and how it deals with the substances that are in there. But it does not create the substances that are in there. That's the deal. But it does do those two specific jobs. I cannot disagree with that. And what are these two types of glands? They're talking about, there's two main types of glands. There's the endocrine, and then there's the exocrine. Endocrine, exocrine is one is inside, one's outside. All right, so the inside one is the endocrine gland. They release hormones directly. It dumps them into the bloodstream. They travel to cells throughout the body. They do all the things. They make your body grow and develop. They give you the metabolism, your mood and your organ functions, reproduction. All of these are from the endocrine gland secretions. They keep all those things working. Now, your exocrine glands make and release chemicals into a duct. They squirt them, basically, into I believe, the lymph nodes. For example, the human body has 3 pairs of major salivary glands: the parotoid glands, the sublingual, and the whatever. I believe the exocrine glands mostly work with the lymph ducts. That's my take on this. Okay, these are the two different. All right, my claim is every single thing requires an enzyme to work, and every enzyme requires a bacteria to produce it. It's just that simple. The bacteria is alive and continues to squirt out these ribosomes, and the ribosomes, in some cases, just float throughout the body. They're free floaters, and that's the endocrine glands. They just float around and just do whatever they're supposed to do. Now, then there's the exocrine gland, which is this. They are targeted. They dump through glands, through ducts, right into a certain place to do a certain job in that particular place. The other ones, the endocrine glands, just squirt them out into the blood, and they just go wherever they want to go. And that's where the ribosomes go. That's the most, and they control all of these things. All of this stuff is controlled by ribosomes, and those are the things that are squirted out into the bloodstream. The other ones go specifically like to your small intestines and squirt a bunch of little stuff in to break down food and things like that. They don't just go into the bloodstream. That's the difference between these two types of glands. All right, there's been some very new research on actually showing these things actually happening, the bacteria collecting up the ribosomes and going into the fluid-filled highway. And they're talking about two main types of glands. And one of them dumps the stuff into the bloodstream, and they just float around and do whatever they want to do. And one of them is targeted to something through ducts. Well, let's talk about that. All right, here's what I'm more or less claiming. The ribosomes are the little tiny balls. Let's just make sure you understand what ribosomes are. And they are organelles found in animal cells, essential for protein synthesis. Proteins, enzymes, same thing. All right, this is a bacteria, single cell. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing. It has its own DNA, and that DNA programs it to create these specific, exact ribosomes. Extremely elegant. And they're in this ball. When that ball opens up, it's a gigantic chemical called an enzyme. All right, that's that ball. And when its surface gets touched by something, that trigger gets touched, it explodes and sheath opens up like this, which is the wrapping, and all of this stuff explodes out. Now, remember I talked about enzymes and proteins, same thing? Well, basically they are. Although they do two opposite things. Proteins come out of the same mix, unsheathed, where they're needed, like in a bone or in a muscle or wherever. And they are proteins, which are building blocks. They're building blocks. This is totally opposite. This breaks everything. And it breaks up food, it kills invaders, it's a destroyer, this is a builder. That's our enzymes, proteins. Well, you can go with that. But they all come from ribosomes, and all ribosomes come from bacteria. So what does that tell you? If you don't have the bacteria, none of this happens. You know, we just happen to be talking about obesity, but every single process in your body, including how you feel and your energy level and all that stuff, is controlled by bacterial ribosomes, which are the balls which open up into the enzymes and the proteins to build your body up. You need proteins, so you're going to have these ribosomes to be able to break down things that they have to break down to get the proteins. And you're going to have to protect yourself and break down your foods and so forth, so you need the enzymes. And every single one of those balls, every single one comes out of a bacteria. And let's say there's 50,000 different types of bacteria. They say there's trillions and trillions and trillions of bacteria in every one of us. And every one of these is squirting out ribosomes. And it could be, there's got to be at least 50,000 different species. So you're going to have 50,000 different ribosomes, and they may all be right in there, because 50,000 is nothing when you take 10 million. You know, we could have almost every ribosome that exists. It's just waiting inside of this one cell. And then the lysosome says, hey, we got a problem over there. Such and such a bacteria is trying to break in, and it calls up the exact ribosome. It kills that one thing, and everybody else goes about their business. That's what really immunity is about. It's not broad scale immunity where you shoot something in your body and it kills off a whole batch of stuff. That is not good. That's the key right now with a lot of these big scale interventions. They're killing off all kinds of stuff, and then you get all kinds of nausea and gut sickness and diarrhea and everything else, because your digestive system is just being destroyed. Or, you know, again, I don't want to make any crazy statements. I don't know. All I can tell you is that if your diarrhea and all that stuff, your digestive system's not working right. And the only way you can get back to being good is to get the right kind of bacterial, level. The microbiome has to be fixed up, and all it is fecal matter transplant. We should be, working on this very, very seriously. Every time I ever see anything about it, well, there's just no research. There's no, all we're doing working with is poop. This is not like rocket science here. And if it does what I say it does, and it does, there's no question. These enzymes, you need them you die almost instantly without them. And that's what happens with that C. diff. C. difficile would eat up your guts. And I had a friend, well, I'm not even going to talk about it. He was going to die, and he's all right now, so I'll just say that. Now, this is what we got. You got to have bacteria. They speed up, the enzymes millions to trillions of times. You cannot do this. It's a catalyst. You can't make life work. It's so exotic. You have no idea whatsoever how complex life is. When you get down to the level that I've been working at the deep down inside, where you have these bacteria interacting and enzymes and catalysts, and how they push off all the flus and the viruses, and there's all kinds of pathways that enter in through the membranes and the fluid-filled highway. They're learning a lot about the human body right now. None of this stuff is completely solved. None of it. And so research is research. That's what I do. I don't give any medical advice whatsoever. But I can tell you this: if you don't have the right enzymes, you're not going to have the right chemistry in your body. It's as simple as that. Okay, my outstanding friends, it is July 8th, 2024, news of the day. We're going to start out with how do you burn fat? They're trying to understand the relationship between white and brown fat. And I'm pretty sure I understand the relationship, and I think they're starting to understand it as well. And it relates to enzymes. Now let's see what they have to say in this article, and then there's a couple other articles we're going to go over briefly. Okay, so this just came out today, and this is from Science Alert, and they're saying white could be the new beige when it comes to fat cells. They found a discovery of a switch that maintains the function of adipose tissue in mice, transforming it from a lipid locker, which is a fat storage, into a calorie burner, so it goes away. Now, physician scientist Brian Feldman, molecular biologist Ling Li from the University of California, San Francisco, carried out a number of experiments on human cell cultures and mice engineered with a switch for a gene they hypothesize regulates the maintenance of our fat. Now, let's think about that for a minute. All right, so we're talking about white fat versus brown fat. Well, there's also beige fat. And here we're going to look at what the types are. This is MDVIP. And the fat around your waist, snuggled up to your organs and clinging to your thighs and backside, isn't just a nuisance. It's actually a remarkable component of your body composition. Fat has many benefits, such as giving you energy, manages cholesterol, blood pressure, helps escort some vitamins to places they need to go, and protecting your vital organs. Now, but fat isn't all one type or even one shade. The different types of body fat have different roles in your body, and they can cause different problems. Here's what you need to know about fat. Before we even get into that, let's just look at what they say. These are the pictures. Pictures tell 1,000 words. Now, you see what mitochondria is? You only got 2 over here in the white cells, and you got this big gigantic lipid droplet. Lipid is fats. Lipid is fat. And then you got the nucleus, the little nucleus. They all have a nucleus. So that's one thing they all have in common. Just one. Now, you have more and more mitochondria as you get towards the brown fat cell. Mitochondria are energy packets. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, you see this is just one big blob. Then you get blobettes in the beige fat cell, and you get an extra mitochondria or 2 probably, or who knows. And then you get into the brown fat cell, and now you got all the little blobs that are easily worked with because they're nice, they're small, you can attack it from all kinds of spots. When you got just one big blob, you can only hit it here or here or here. So this does not burn quick because the mitochondria is what burns it. All right, I talked about the mitochondria, and they are responsible for burning fats and sugars to create energy. They're the energy packets. Now, so they have to be able to work with the fats and the sugars. Now, a process known as respiration. However, not all mitochondria in a cell burn fat to create energy. Some mitochondria are attached to fat droplets, instead provide energy to build and store fat molecules. So some of them build the fat and some of them burn the fat out. I'm not sure whether they're not all the same. Apparently there's some little difference in the mitochondria. You know, this gets a little technical. I don't see any reason to go into this, but we know there's 3 different types. There's the brown, there's the beige, and then there's the white fat cells. Now, the brown is something that you work with quickly and gives you a lot of energy. The yellow is like in between, and the The white is something that just packs on and jiggles and all that stuff. So how do you burn white fat? Well, I give you some tips here. But basically what it is there's 3 types of fat. And one of them burns real quick is the brown. And why is it brown? And why is the other one yellow? And why is the other one white? And why do they have these different characteristics? Well, I can tell you why pretty much. Is they have to have some kind of different energy levels. And what is the energy levels made out of? Enzymes. Enzymes are the only thing to do any chemistry in you. So they're going to have extra different little organelles, yes. But now we got to try to figure out where is all the enzymes coming from. These must be loaded, completely loaded with ribosomes. I'd like to know if that's the case, if anybody knows. Is there more ribosomes here than in here than in here? So I would say the more ribosomes are in there, the more chemistry is going to happen. And the mitochondria are going to work with that chemistry as the ribosomes break it down. You see this? Here's what they're trying to do, is work with these brown and yellow and white fat cells. New obesity tool. This is Harvard Medical School. Key may lie in receptor protein. Proteins are enzymes. Key receptor protein for brown fat cells. I think they're either missing the enzymes or they have too many of something. I don't think it's strictly related to the receptor. The receptor is just waiting to get attached to the molecules that are in the plasma, the cytoplasm, or whatever you want to call the extracellular matrix that's in there, which is the bloody fluidy stuff. It depends where it is, if it's in a lymph area. Anyway, my feeling is that it's not the receptor, it's the protein. And where do you get the protein? You get it from a bacteria. The bacteria creates the protein, which is the enzyme. If you don't have the enzyme, you're not going to be able to break these things down. Okay, so you know this is Harvard, and we're talking about a possible obesity tool, talking about brown fat cells, yellow fat cells, beige basically, and white. Now, according to the new report published April 12th, the key lies in the expression of a receptor called TRPV, a protein known to sense noxious stimuli, including pain and temperature. So they attribute it to this receptor called such and such, which is a protein. Well, proteins are enzymes. All right, just to be sure we understand each other, these are the 3 different types of fat cells. This apparently is to keep you warm and to keep your body at a certain temperature, and they burn just continuously keep you at that temperature. This appears to be the beige is for actually producing energy for your muscles and so forth, I think. Whereas this pretty much covers your temperatures. Could be wrong. And this is just a storage to convert down to this. Now, how do you convert this down to that? Well, that's the key. I say everything is done by enzyme, 100%, no question whatsoever. Everything is done by enzymes in your body, any chemistry whatsoever. Zero, it happens without an enzyme. Zero. Nothing happens without an enzyme, because you need that enzyme to speed up the reaction rate millions of times in order for it to be actually biologically. Otherwise it just sits around and it doesn't do much. Now, which is the enzyme is the whole key, and the bacteria make the enzymes. The enzymes are the thing that do the chemistry. That's the key takeaway here. So we know we need the enzymes. If you don't have the enzymes, you're not going to burn the fat. Where do the enzymes come from? They come from ribosomes. Where do ribosomes come from? They come out of bacteria. Thousands and thousands and thousands of species of bacteria in you, all making a different chemical package. And this package right here might break down fat from a goose I mean, they're that specific. And another one might break down fat from a elk. I'm serious. These things can be so specific, it's unbelievable when you see how detailed they are once they open up. And the key to it is they go around in your body, all over your body. There's just billions of them, literally billions, probably trillions. And, well, for sure, because there can be tens of millions of them in every single cell. Every cell in your body can have tens of millions of these ribosomes, and they're just sitting around in that cell. And if the cell needs to call on one of these, it shoots it, and then they pop open, and then they're elegant. All right, every ribosome every ribosome comes out of a bacteria. They are the factories that create the ribosomes. The ribosomes are the enzymes. That's what an enzyme is after it comes out of its ball. This is what it's going to end up looking like. And every one of those little spots is a magnetic signature. So you have a huge molecule. I mean, they're absolutely gigantic. But they originally are in a little tiny ball like this. They have to open up. Now, how do they open up? Why would they open up? What would make them do that? Because they're floating through your body. These balls, they're everywhere in your body, and in every single cell, there's millions of them. Literally, I'm telling you, that's what they say. Millions of them. Now, there's going to be thousands and thousands of different enzymes, because enzymes do, they can break all kinds of things and kill invaders and break up food and work with the energy and ATP and all that. But they also, from the same process, from a ribosome, will come either an enzyme or a protein. Basically the same thing, only this is a building block. This builds things, bones and muscles and tissues and things normally. This breaks things. So it's just two opposites. But they come in these little balls, and they just wait around until they're needed. They don't eat, they don't poop, they don't do anything. They just hang around. And then normally I think it's a lysosome. You know what, let me just show you this. All right, this is an animal cell. Now, ribosomes are in here, and there is literally millions just floating in this, is what's called cytoplasm. It's just the fluid that's in here, and they're just everywhere. Now, they're also on the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is this structure right here, and they're all glued on that, which means they're protective ribosomes. They're chemistry sets. They're just waiting there, and if something invades it and bumps into it, they kill it. That's how they react. They get bumped into. Now, the lysosome here, right next to the ribosomes, this is a lysosome. I believe it's an organ. Now, I'm not 100% on this, but I know the ribosomes are everywhere, and they're just squirted out of bacteria, and there's thousands and thousands of different bacteria, and every one of them has a different program in that ribosome. And the program is literally a program. And here's how it's programmed right here. This is literally a program. This is the ribosome, you see it? That's the ball. You see these are the program codes. These are literally program codes. We call them amino acids, or polypeptide chains. They make a chain. All right, and here's exactly how it works. Every one of these has a different magnetic signature. When they attach to another one, they create a code. And the code is so elegant, it's unbelievable, because these can be quite long. They have short ones, they have long ones. But it just feeds into the ribosome and programs it to become this bomb. And these are so tiny, like I say, one cell can have millions. One single cell can have millions of them in here, of those little balls. Now, I believe the lysosome is the one that sends a signal to say, hey, give me a bunch of 50217 ribosomes, whatever you want to call them. And they call them up, and they open up. Or they go to wherever they have to go, and if they get bumped into, And I may not even have to call them up. I'm not sure exactly what does happen. I got to be honest with you. This is all new research, basically. But there's something on the outside of the ball that triggers it. All right, so it bumps into something, and the hairs on this thing or whatever it has around the sheath says, "Oops, open up. We got a problem." Bloop. It pops out, and if it's something that wants to invade it, it kills it. If it's something that wants to, it's not going to be the same ball that's going to make an enzyme or a protein. They're going to be different balls. They're not going to one just decide to become an enzyme, and the same ball could just decide to become a protein. I don't believe that. I believe that these have varieties of balls, and now they're starting to call them CD T cells and all kinds of things. From the thymus. But all they are really is different enzyme packages. These are just enzymes. They're ribosomes. When they pop open, they turn into these. And these tiny little things can go right up to the blood-brain barrier because they're so small. But once they open up, they're just gigantic. It starts out like that, and it opens up into this, but this is actually this. All right, so we know we got bacteria going everywhere in your body. It's all over the place, but primarily it's in this fluid-filled highway. It's squirting out ribosomes everywhere all day long. That's all they do, and they just float. They call free floaters. They freely float through your body, and then they seem to accumulate in certain animal cells, and there's all kind of different cells. They're not exactly all the same. Some of them are in your stomach, some of them are in your lungs, they're all different types of cells, but they're pretty much similar. They have pretty much basically the same kind of chemistry inside. But they're going to be a little different. They're going to have to be, because they're working inside of different environments. The pH is going to be much different from your stomach versus your lungs. So anyway, cells will be different. All right, so like I say, I do research, that's all. I'm not saying anybody do anything, but I'm going to tell you one thing right now. Not a single thing happens in your body that doesn't require an enzyme. The enzyme's the only thing that can work fast enough to break down the molecules. The only place you get enzymes from is bacteria. If your bacteria is not healthy in you, then you will not have the enzyme. Or you're going to have too much of a certain bacteria, you have too much enzymes that are against you. But if you don't have those enzymes, one way or the other, or you have too many of them, you got an issue. We should have a database of saying, here's all the different bacteria, because the bacteria is going to make the enzyme. We need to know what bacteria are alive in you right now and their levels. And everybody should have a sort of a consistent levels of things, basically. It'll fall into a pattern. And it'll all kind of be age and sex and, all kinds of things will come into play. But that's how you build a database, is more and more and more and more and more and more and more data. And then everything will sort of filter into like a pattern. And we'll be able to understand, well, more than likely you're sick because you're missing lactobacillus acidophilus and you got too much of the returei or whatever it is. But you see this in the readout. And you do this analyzing the fecal sample. Now, listen to this. So why do I say fecal sample? What's a fecal sample got to do with it? Well, the fecal sample is where your gut bacteria lives. And all the stuff that goes around down through your digestive system, it turns into poop. And all of that stuff has all of these different bacteria in it that live in your body. They're going too. They're going to be, some of it just sloughed off. Now you look in there and you say, well, this guy's got all the normal bacteria. He's healthy. He poops every day. He's doing a good job. Everything's fine. The other guy's missing a whole bunch of things. He's always got digestive issues. He's sick. He's weak. He's this and that. That's the key. But all you have to do is analyze that poop and see what is its consistency versus norm. That's what we need to do, is be able to get that database. All right, so we started talking about how do you make them burn more calories, and they went through all kinds of gyrations to do this. Now, I say it's related to the bacteria. So if you could put the good bacteria in a guy's body, I think it will help him to burn the fat cells. Now let's see what the National Institute of Health has to say. Because I looked it all up about fecal matter transplants and losing weight. And they, oh, no, don't do that, Well, this is the National Institute of Health. All right, and here's what they say about a fecal microbiota transplant for weight and glycemic control of obesity, as well as associated metabolic diseases. It's all associated with metabolic. Metabolic means what you burn. Metabolism is how your body deals with the things it metabolizes them and breaks them down. And that's all done with bacteria and enzymes. Listen to this. We reviewed research that investigated how fecal matter transplant affected weight, and then also some of these other things. Don't forget, this is the National Institute of Health. These are the conclusions. You can read the whole study if you want. It says, as a weight loss and glycemic control therapy, fecal matter transplant helps to prevent and treat metabolic problems linked to obesity. That's the problem. The metabolic, you're not burning it. It treats and prevents metabolic problems linked to obesity. Is a viable alternative to bariatric surgery for patients who do not wish to undergo the procedure. Who wants to take and have their guts cut out if all you got to do is have a fecal matter transplant? Now, like I say, I'm not giving any advice, do this or do that, but they have almost no research on this. And all you got to do is do fecal matter transplant and get the evidence. But they haven't bothered to do it. The easiest thing they could possibly do, and this is known for thousands of years, that everything starts in your gut, and all the reason is because of the microbes that are in the fecal matter and in your gut in general are the things that do all the chemistry. So you're going to be, all kinds of issues are going to happen when you don't have the bacteria. That's why these fecal matter transplants, these people lost weight. That's what happens when you get another microbiome in you. Plus, a lot of them have new attitudes and everything else. It changes everything in you. Here it is from the same study. It says FMT involves replenishing the gut microbiota with healthy human feces from somebody who was a healthy individual. It's a successful way to treat diseases brought on by intestinal dysbiosis, where your gut doesn't have the right bacteria. It is presently the established standard of care for the therapy of recurrent Clostridial difficile. That's C. diff, which is a terrible, terrible infection. And it's basically the only way to get rid of it. The gut microbiota and metabolic processes have been linked in many research papers, including FMT from thin persons being found to lower obesity and undesirable metabolic characteristics. So they just accidentally said, wow, the guy all of a sudden lost a bunch of weight and all the problems with his metabolic issues are gone after he had a FMT. Well, why don't we do a little more of this and understand it? Because they keep saying, oh, we need a lot more research, it's going to take time. You got to start somewhere. You see this? There are several limitations to this study. Yeah, they didn't really do much. Firstly, concerns regarding the impartiality of the combined findings are raised by the limited number of research studies. Yeah, because they didn't do them, that were included in this analysis, and for the validity of our findings to continue to be validated. New available literature will need to be considered in the future, years and years from now. Secondly, there may be differences between healthy and diabetic people in the analysis of blood glucose and insulin, obviously, which may lead to heterogeneity. In the future, there is a need for clinical trials to determine whether FMT has a differential effect on blood glucose levels between healthy individuals and diabetes. In the future. Well, the future's today. The future's in 10 minutes. Let's do it. All right, this I have an issue with. This was a very short study. It was only 12 weeks. This is called New Atlas. It was the first human trial into fecal transplants for obesity, delivers mixed results. It was only 12 weeks, and they had two groups. So they had some with placebo and some without. They did see a difference in the gut makeup over the time, but they say that, well, this is an early pilot study, involved 22 obese, otherwise healthy adult subjects for 12 weeks. Half the patients received capsules with fecal samples from healthy, lean subjects, while the other half consumed placebo capsules. All that is, this is not going to do the job. You need those bacteria living inside the fluid-filled highway to create the enzymes and send those enzymes via ribosomes into the cells. It's going to take months and months and months. It's not 12 weeks and just like that. But they did notice a change. So don't forget now, in every single cell, this is the key, in every single cell, every one of these cells wrapped in that membrane, they can have up to like 10 million of those ribosomes. Those ribosomes are the things that break down the fats. You can't do that in 12 weeks. Fill your whole body up with ribosomes. It's going to take much longer time than that. So they're just not doing their research. They're not doing the job they should. Look at this is, I believe, not too far off from reality. There's all these crazy what's going on inside the human body. All right, remember this. Here's what they're hoping to do, is increase this level of hormone, and that's what they were looking for. Did it get more hormone level? And what is this hormone that they're talking about? It's a regulatory substance produced in an organism and transported in tissue fluids, such as blood or sap in plants, to stimulate specific cells or tissues into action. They turn things on. That's what these hormones do. These are the things that regulate the things. But in order for them to turn something on, they have to have the enzymes. It's a synthetic substance with an effect similar to that of an animal or plant hormone, where they turn things on, these hormones. But if you don't have the substance, I don't care what you turn on, it's not going to turn on. All right, see, here it is right here. They were looking to see if the fecal transplant induced changes in a hormone called GLP-1 involved in being satisfied. Unfortunately, after 12 weeks, no changes in that hormone level were identified and no changes in weight were recorded. So they're saying, well, it didn't work after 12 weeks, so just forget about it. But they did say, however, the researchers do know some changes were identified in the treatment group at the end of the 12-week study. It takes a while. You can't do this in 12 weeks and it's all over. The overall microbial makeup of the treatment group did become more similar to that of the lean donors, and it would keep getting more and more. A specific decrease in a type of bile acid was particularly noted. All right, bile acid. Let's look into that in a second. The bile acid data is certainly intriguing and suggests that maybe there are one or more different pathways at play. Obesity is a very complex disorder, and it is, because it doesn't just involve the chemistry of the body, it involves a lot of other stuff surrounding the environment and how you feel, and mood and all kinds of things. So it's multifaceted, no question about that. However, your body, if it has the right chemistry in your body, it should literally overcome most of everything, even mood issues and all of that stuff. So it is a multifaceted process, but it's probably at the heart of its development. Who knows? It's very, very complex. But if your gut isn't right, I don't care, you're not going to be right. Something's going to not be right. All right, your gut controls literally everything, because enzymes control 100%, and your gut is it has all of these bacteria in there. You got to know what bacteria is in you, and what you don't have, you need. Otherwise, you're going to have all kinds of issues. The enzymes are the only thing that do any chemistry, right there. And these things work so fast. Hold on a second. All right, here it is right here. Enzymes can speed up chemical reactions by millions to trillions of times by lowering the activation energy required for the reactants to come together and react. This is because enzymes act as biological catalysts that bind reactant molecules called the substrates tightly and specifically at a site on the enzyme molecule called the active site, and it just instantaneously explodes it, and it goes on to the next one, explodes that one. It's called click chemistry. Very elegant little molecule, extremely elegant, and after it comes out of its ball, which is the ribosome, because something tickled its surface, it goes and it goes, and every click it just wipes something out. It's like it's the speed of light, is the speed of magnetism, same thing. It comes up and it goes click, 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 and it kills them all. And it does nothing happens to this, it just keeps going. It's like the Energizer Bunny. Bacteria are the factories that produce enzymes.